Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host Malik, and we actually got some pretty significant news, not regarding the roster or anything itself, but pretty just interesting as far as things go forward regarding the franchise itself. It was reported by multiple sources here in Memphis that the deal to keep the Grizzlies in the city won't be done this summer, and that was according to Memphis Mayor Paul Young. Um, and it's just something that I really thought I'd point out because in a time where we're talking about relocation and all these things like that, and specifically the city of Memphis has been dealing with issues regarding how much money goes towards their sports. And it goes without saying that the city of Memphis needs the Grizzlies. No, like with just going on the limb, the city needs the Grizzlies. As someone that has lived here my entire life, I can't imagine the city of Memphis without the Memphis Grizzlies. And right here, I'm reading it right now. It said the timeline for the deal has basically been pushed back to 2029. I believe that's when the lease is up. I want to say so. Very interesting. Very interesting stuff going on. If you want my personal opinion, I think that a deal will get worked out, but it's definitely not a good look that a deal isn't being worked out right now because the Grizzlies do put in a lot of money to the city. Like the Grizzlies are Memphis. That goes without saying. So the fact that we are waiting 4 years for a deal to be done, it's a little frightening. I can't lie. It's a little frightening. Um, you know, I like I said, they need. I would imagine they work things out as soon as possible because um, in a time where relocation is heavy on the minds of the league, they're definitely looking for any reason to possibly move a team, especially a small market team, whether it's the Grizzlies or even the Charlotte Hornets. The league is ruthless, and if they want a team in Vegas or something, some big city, they're gonna make sure it's done. So, um, yeah, just something that I thought I'd bring to y'all, not regarding the roster or anything, but just thought I found it very interesting to bring that to y'all. And I felt like I wouldn't be doing it justice if we're talking about the roster and this whole ordeal is going on right now. But switching gears back, talking about the roster, um, a tweet came out recently, and I believe it was from Jake Fisher on Twitter, or excuse me, Brett Siegel. Basically, he said the Lakers discussed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Dante DiVincenzo as potential trade targets with the Grizzlies and Timberwolves. KCP talks happened after he was included in the Bain Orlando trade. Minnesota immediately turned down DiVincenzo talks. Um, I thought about this, and I'm kind of glad the Grizzlies didn't entertain it. But it doesn't surprise me to see that the Lakers are going after a guy like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and it's not just with the whole theory of the Lakers want any and everybody on their team. It's also just the fact that they've had Kentavious Caldwell-Pope before. He was a key piece in that 2020 championship run, so it makes sense for them to go after him. But um, I applaud the Grizzlies for not entertaining it because, in hindsight, I don't think the Lakers necessarily have anybody that would fit the team. Now, granted, yes, they probably have better players than Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but as far as fit, I don't think so because if we're being honest, the Lakers probably would have tried to move Dalton Connect or somebody, and I'm gonna be honest, the Grizzlies don't need Dalton Connect. You have Cedric Coward, you got other guys as well. GG Jackson, for example. You don't need Dalton Connect, and Dalton Connect has not developed well. And granted, it's not his fault. It really isn't. The Lakers are just an organization that does things very weird. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was traded, and then the trade got rescinded, and he just has to come back like everything's normal. That stunts his development. So, yeah, I think definitely if they had did a deal, it probably would have been Dalton Connect included. But like I said, the Grizzlies don't need anybody like that. Really can't imagine anybody else, if I'm being honest. But I just found that kind of interesting and applaud the Grizzlies for really just kind of standing on what they have as a roster. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier is, the roster is essentially set in stone. At this point, we're looking at training camp deals and two-way contracts. No, I don't think any more blockbuster deals are going to happen. Like I said, we talked about the whole Anthony Simons thing in the last episode. I don't, I don't, I wouldn't entertain it at all. No real need for a player like that. So yeah, just really interesting when it came out. Just like why would we even entertain that? But it's good to know that we really did and we shut down those talks. Now, with the roster being set in stone, one would have to think, what is the key to the Grizzlies having a year where they don't have to play in the play in and they actually can make it out the first round? And I've come across some things that, really just that I really thought about, and I'm like, I feel like if we do this, everything's fine. One is health, absolutely staying healthy. Now, I know that's one thing that you can't control, but I think our training staff definitely does need to do a better job of conditioning the players and being on top of conditioning, because we have seen this movie for 3 straight years, honestly 4 straight years if I'm being honest, where injuries are the killer of the Grizzlies season. And I feel like if they just have a healthy year, people will see what we are seeing, and that's that the Grizzlies are one of the best teams in the league. And if that happens, we're talking a whole different ball game. We're talking a whole different ball game of how guys like Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. are evaluated. Now, granted, I'm glad the Grizzlies didn't let those injury seasons really just make them make a move out of shock value. I mean, Desmond Bane was kind of shock value, but I have gone on record saying that if there was anybody in the big three that would get moved, it would be Desmond Bane. So that really doesn't kind of surprise me, but it kind of does. But I think you all kind of get what I'm saying. But it's just like health-wise, they didn't really let it get to them. They didn't really let it stop them from making the moves that they need to retool the team. So health is a main priority. Other thing is Ja Morant. Obviously, franchise cornerstone. Not really much to say, but if we want Ja Morant, if we want to have a successful season, Ja Morant, and I'm being honest, he needs to play at least 60 games. He needs to play at least 60 games this year. I can't imagine a season where Ja Morant plays 50 games again and we're a deep team in the playoffs. He needs to play at least 60 games. We're talking about a guy who's missed 25 games, I think, the last 3 years. So we really need to emphasize Ja Morant playing because it's important. Granted, yes, the team can hold their own, but we're talking about a guy that, he is the team. When he's on the court, the team plays better. So that's another thing to me. And the third thing, obviously, is the system. I think the Grizzlies will work better in a system where they aren't. I like the fast tempo. I really do, especially when you're able to hold on to the ball. I like the fast tempo. Just get it done. Get down the court. Try to catch them off guard. I understand it and I applaud it. I really do. But we definitely do need to understand that while tempo is great, shot selection was a major problem for the Grizzlies. It felt like the Grizzlies just went after the first shot they could find, and that led to a lot of frustration plays that, hindered guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. or Desmond Bane. That's why they, had those performances where they may go 3 for 15 or something like that. So I think as long as they don't take a bunch of impulsive shots, we're talking a different ball game here. So as long as the Grizzlies have a offense that involves on getting the best shot, whether it's a mid-range or a layup, and not just more so going for shooting 43s a game. Take the right shot, and I think we're talking a different ball game. And honestly, taking the right shot is how you really get those turnovers down, because it's like you're not forcing anything. You're not forcing these plays where guys think they have a layup, but then they go up in the air and they try to pass it out. That's an easy turnover. That's the majority of the turnovers right there for the Grizzlies. That and fast break outlet passes. So definitely think those are the keys to those are the keys to a successful season for the Grizzlies. Now, this isn't necessarily news regarding the Grizzlies, but it's regarding the Grizzlies legend, and I feel like it wouldn't be right if we didn't talk about it. But with sources within me have basically kind of gone on record saying that it's a strong possibility that Mike Conley could retire going after next year. Mike Conley, he's getting up there. He's, I believe, 37, 38. I'm not exactly sure the age, but you have to think that his time is coming soon. Now, I don't think the Timberwolves have necessarily moved on from him, but soon one would have to think that that's going to happen. So, just want to say, Mike Conley, he's a legend. He's a legend. He's part of the original Grit and Grind. He was the leader other than Marc Gasol or Zach Randolph. He was the guy. I always felt like he was an all-star player to me. Um, so, just Mike Conley, he's a legend. He's definitely going to get his number retired in the rafters of FedEx Forum. Um, and honestly, I know roster spots are very limited on the Grizzlies right now. But if that was a world where the Grizzlies got Mike Conley back on a mentorship kind of deal, but also just like a last hurrah, I feel like that'd be perfect. Kind of like how D Rose was, but I understand it's a different year, so you definitely want to make sure you're in a situation where you can win. And as great as that sounds, it probably won't happen. But just want to say, if this is Mike Conley's last year, I'm glad I was a witness. He was a cornerstone for this franchise, and he was part of my childhood and a lot of other people's childhood. So if this does likely to become true, then I'm glad to say that I watched and I was there for it. But really, that's all I got for this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you like the video, make sure to like it. Comment if you got any opinions regarding the Grizzlies or this FedEx Forum deal or relocation. Make sure to put them down below. Subscribe. Turn on those post notifications so you get the next upload. And as for this edition of Grizzlies Daily, that's all I got. My name is Malik, and I'm signing off.